Welcome back. All right, quick news of the day video before I head out for tonight. Going out on a date night with the wife and all that. That being said, there is some news updates that I can provide for you right now, starting with Ryan Reaves. He has been suspended 5 games for that hit on Darnell Nurse last night. I would love to have an update on Darnell Nurse's condition on the board. I haven't seen anything as of yet. So for Reaves, he's out for a while. The debate is out there too about Reaves, his usefulness in today's game, and all that stuff. But the reality is he is not going to be in their lineup for the next 5. So we'll see how the Leafs record looks, and we'll see if he gets back into the lineup after those 5 games are done, or if the Leafs go on a bit of a run, which can make it more difficult to jump back into the lineup. We shall see. The Minnesota Wild, in dealing with a little bit of injuries and stuff like this, they've recalled Ben Jones and Devon Shore. So we'll see if either of or both are in the lineup for their next game. They're playing in St. Louis on Tuesday. That should be an entertaining one. Minnesota's playing really well. They've got a good record. And for St. Louis, they need a win. So that should be an entertaining game on Tuesday night. Jack Campbell, good news, iffy news situation for him. The good news being that he has cleared the NHL and NHLPA assistance program. He is cleared to return. The iffy part being that Detroit's put him on waivers. So he's headed down to the Griffins. Jack Campbell can be a good goaltender at this point in time in his career. I could see him having maybe a bounce back to become a backup, similar to what Edmonton has with Pickard. I could see Campbell doing something similar like that. Connor Ingram with Utah is another example of a goaltender that eventually ends up finding himself a nice little niche there with the team. So all the best to Jack Campbell. I'm glad he's out of the assistance program, and hopefully everything goes well for him from here. So the salary cap, a discussion point. And Alan Walsh pointing something out, which he's not wrong about, but there's something that was brought up about this before. So the salary cap is scheduled to be at $92.5 million. And Elliot Friedman talking about that, saying that there's discussions about whether or not the salary cap is going to be higher. Alan Walsh jumps in with the idea that with the projected amount that the NHL could make this year, the salary cap should be in the region of $110 to $120 million at its ceiling. Now, there were discussions about whether or not the NHL would have a big jump in the salary cap, and that there was some discussion about leaving the cap on how much the cap can go up, because there is a certain amount. I think it's 2.5%. There's an amount there that you can raise it by, and anything past that is technically not. It's a little bit frowned upon. And part of the reason being, the players don't want to see it where there's one huge jump and then it's just very incremental, so that you see one free agent class making out big time with all the big money, and then the other free agent class is not doing as well after that. But with the amount of money the NHL is bringing in, I don't think there's any reason for concern. And just think about the excitement when we look at free agency potentially next July. If they turned around and said, you know what, the salary cap's going to be $100 million next year, that would give everybody a lot of cap space. And I think it might make GMs who've signed some contracts that look expensive look really smart. Because if the salary cap did go up into the $100 million range next summer, or close to that, it is going to make a lot of those contracts that people have been complaining about age actually pretty well. Because the salary cap could end up at $120 million in the not too distant future. And that will definitely make contracts that are in that 10 million plus range look a little better. I'm not saying they're all going to be great or everybody's really going to be happy about them, but it will be interesting to see if the NHL and NHLPA work something out. Remember, Marty Walsh, the NHLPA head, has a good relationship with Gary Bettman. So I'd be kind of surprised if this becomes a sticking point. I think they want to just keep things going well going forward. And so my guess is they come up with some kind of a compromise. Owners are perfectly fine with keeping those profits and not paying the players more money. But again, trying to look fair and remembering that the next CBA is due to be brought in 2026, and you want to make sure that everything's going well. You've had a successful Olympics. You've had a successful Four Nations tournament. The move to Utah has gone well. You don't want to have something taking that shine off what's been a pretty good relationship between the union and the league lately. So we'll see what they do. Let me know your thoughts. Do you think the cap should just jump up that high if that's what the NHL is making, or do you think the incremental jumps make more sense? Let me know your thoughts on the matter. The Winnipeg Jets bringing over Fabian Wagner. So he had been playing in the Swedish league. He's headed to North America. He's been assigned to the Manitoba Moose. He's a forward who's drafted in 2022, so we'll see if by bringing him over, if that means he gets a call-up at some point, or if he just helps out the Moose. The Moose's record has not been great, so any help would probably be appreciated by the Manitoba Moose. The Vancouver Canucks, this isn't fair. I'm not going to be home to watch this. I hope DPD doesn't make his debut on a night where I'm not watching, because that would kind of suck. And yet, I'm very happy to report that the defenseman, Elias Patterson's been called up, and I believe he pronounces it Elias Patterson. Forbert's been placed on IR, so yeah, we'll see if Patterson gets into a game. I think it'd be kind of fun if he did. Keeping in mind Abbotsford, Vancouver, right down the road from each other. So call-ups and send-downs are so easy. And yeah, so we'll see if D. Petey, as he's been dubbed, ends up getting into the lineup for Vancouver. Mason McTavish placed on IR by the Anaheim Ducks due to an upper body injury. So they've recalled Hines and Colangelo. So these are two young players. Colangelo, there's a lot of excitement around. He's had a pretty good season so far for the Gulls at the AHL level. So we'll see how he does at the NHL level should he get into some game action. The Ducks are in Dallas tomorrow, and then they're in Chicago on Tuesday. I've already got the preview board started because I'm going out tonight, so I figured I might as well get that started as much as I can, because when I get home, I have to finish that, and it's probably going to be a late night when I get home. So remember, tonight's review is going to be up late. But hey, you can watch the power rankings and watch them again. So you just go back and watch them all over again. But that being said, yeah, McTavish on IR. He has not had a great season so far for Anaheim. Hopefully, once this injury's passed, he can start producing at a really good rate. Today, pretty good day for Marty Necas. He has had his second 4-point game in the game against St. Louis. I'm not going to spoil the result in case you haven't seen it. And so, yeah, he is tied with McKinnon and Konechny as the only players in the NHL to have 2 4-point games so far this year. I'm kind of surprised Kaprizov's not on the list, but it's going to happen. Necas has been absolutely ridiculous. He's at the 30-point mark now. It looks like a foregone conclusion that he's going to end up with well over 100 points if he keeps this up. I don't know that he keeps it up all season, but yeah, he's kind of become a superstar in the NHL, and that's been kind of fun to watch. Watch his development into being a superstar player. And when you end up producing and you end up right near the top of the list of point producers, your contract looks pretty darn good. So Necas' contract looks pretty good. But yeah, so that being said, let me know your thoughts on the cap and whether or not you think the NHL and the NHLPA should look at making a huge jump in salary cap. And while I'm sure Alan Walsh, you know, he does like to stir the pot a little bit, it also probably doesn't hurt that he's an agent, and if they make more money, he makes more money too. So it is in his best interest to put that out there and try to put that pressure on for the NHL to pay a little more money. The one thing with that is keep in mind that money will often just go to the star players. It doesn't necessarily bump up the value of contracts for third, fourth line players and bottom pairing defensemen. That's something I would love to actually just dive into at some point and do a video on how salaries have changed over the last, say, 10 to 15 years for top players as well as, you know, bottom 6 players and whatnot. Maybe I can find some of that data. Sadly, Cap Friendly is gone. So there's Puckpedia, but if you guys know of like where I could look at that, peruse that information on each year, how much players get paid, because it's that kind of nerdy data stuff that I love to dive into and look at. And just look at, so when the salary cap does make this huge jump, is that all just going to go to star players, or will we see just salaries in general in the NHL go up? Let me know your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe in the event you may not have done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.